Go ahead.
It is December 31st, Tuesday at 9 a.m. We'll call the Wright County Board of Commissioners to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, fellow commissioners and everyone else. We are now going to conclude another decade here this evening.
I know. Hard to believe this year has gone.
Exactly.
This evening?
This evening.
This evening?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, tonight, after tonight,
okay.
it'll
All
be
right,
2020, and we will have concluded another decade.
At midnight, right?
Anyways, we'll begin with the minutes. Anybody have any questions from the December 17th minutes? Any modifications?
I'll move approval, Mr. Chair.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hewsome, second by Commissioner Dahleden. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Moving on to today's agenda. Any modifications or additions to the agenda for today? Any other business you want to add to take care of here before we conclude 2019?
We'll just maybe talk in updates about
Sure.
something, so.
Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Dahleden. Any further discussion?
Just a question. Administrator Kelly, we're going to mention the mural?
Yeah, I was thinking we could discuss that in updates,
Okay.
if that works.
Thanks.
All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Agenda is approved. Today's consent agenda, would anyone like to remove anything from the consent agenda today for further discussion?
Mr. Chair, I don't need to remove this, but under J, County Board, just need to add the word Minnesota to appoint Seth Hansen as Central Minnesota EMS. And with that, if no one has anything else, I will move approval.
Can we send them on Central Iowa or?
Yeah, we could. Surprise.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Hewsome, second by Commissioner Burrell for today's consent agenda. Any other further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda is approved. We are flying all the way down to the 9:02. Deputy Auditor Treasurer Tammy Vaith.
Morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. The item that I have on the agenda today is the approval of a temporary liquor license for the Maple Lake Property Owners Association for their event, the Maple Lake Ice Fishing Derby. This event will be on February 1st, 2020. The application has been approved by the Wright County Sheriff's Office, Wright County Attorney's Office, and the Maple Lake Town Board.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the temporary liquor license.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Dahleden. And I hear that Deputy Auditor Treasurer Tammy Vaith is going to be jumping in the lake that day.
Yep.
Is that not true?
I feel like I'm coming on with a cold.
Yeah.
Might not be good.
I expect a cold on that day.
Well, the Sheriff's Office joined it last year. I've been doing it. I think it'd only be right that the Auditor Treasurer's Office joins into this. You can maybe get the Attorney's Office and Greg will jump too.
Hopefully, they're not going to have any issues like they have in the
Right,
past.
2 years, 2 years in a row, they had to cancel it, so it was nice last year, they had thick enough ice, and it was thick ice last
Yeah.
year.
Yep, definitely, they had no problems.
Very well attended, so I hope that they're able to have it again.
Yeah.
All right, I'll twist Bob's arm for it, so maybe.
Work on that.
He said
Good luck
no
with that
multiple years for me, but I'll keep asking. All right, any other further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The temporary liquor license is approved. Well, that was the longest timed agenda I can remember.
No, Mr. Chair, that she's efficient at the job.
That's what it is. And, but Administrator Kelly saved up a good number of minutes for us to keep us busy here for a good half hour better. All right, so I kind of, everybody got their messages about what they're going to do for meetings, so I guess Commissioner Hewsome is going to take us on through the Tactical Center with the help of Alan Wilczek from the 1217 Tactical Center.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On December 17th, the Tactical Training Center Owners Committee met. Members present, Hewsome, Alan Wilczek, John O'Hearn, John McKenzie, Jim Walden, Todd Hoffman, and Anthony Enright. And we got some updates. O'Hearn spoke to the upcoming schedule. The precast is scheduled to be completed on 12/23 with the steel installation scheduled to start immediately after. Planking over the shooting range will be arriving on 12/18. The pavilion steel will be completed that week. There was discussion needing feedback from the IT on the data room layout and sheets ES 101 and ES 602. Wilczek will follow up. Hoffman requested installation of an electronic keyboard device, so there will need to be power and data placed for that. He has spec, and the project team will confirm a location for the install. The supplier was coming to the site on 12/17 that day to look at the propane tank locations and propose installation, and Wilczek said he'll join the meeting and work through the cost proposals for future approval. We discussed fiber installation to the facility, the fact that it needs to be resolved soon. Hoffman indicated he'll bring it up at a technology committee as a reminder also. And Wilczek indicated he'd follow up with Administrator Kelly. It was noticed it will take some time for engineering installation, but the facility will not be fully operational until the fiber is delivered. Hoffman requested a meeting to walk through the plan set one more time. Wright is going to send up a meeting at the Law Enforcement Center for the group. There's also a discussion about camera locations installation. Plan sheet 106 shows rough in locations, but Wilczek will set up a meeting with Allstate to review the placement. Allstate's been working on the design of the Justice Center system. However, now that installation is taking place at that site, they'll start plans on the Tactical Training Center. Walden asked about what the plans are to dispose of used brass. The group agreed to continue discussion and develop a plan. It may either be a large container or several small. And O'Hearn walked through the PR cost estimates and spoke about the earthwork, their changes requested to drive south from the building garage to a new gravel range, parking area, etc. Wilczek to present information at the 12/31 board meeting and also will speak to required paved turn lane. Recommendations, next meeting is January 21st, 2020. And with that, Mr. Chair, I will move the minutes and the recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hewsome, second by Commissioner Dahlin for the approval of the minutes and recommendations from the 12/17 Tactical Center Building Committee. Any further discussion?
I have one question. Who are we using for propane service, and is that what we're using at some of the parks? Is that the same people?
Yeah, we met with Central Soda to look at their first proposal of it. I'm going to get some second numbers on it and check into options, but Central Soda is the one that has provided it at our highway shops and other locations currently.
Okay, good. Good. I'd like to stay consistent with it throughout the county.
Probably
that
at
way.
good,
And then
better prices.
we need to add a tank for flammable waste.
Yeah, there's a requirement we're working through still, but essentially since it's on a septic tank, it's not on a city service line. You can't have it in line. It has to go outside the building into a separate tank for the garage and then back to the septic as a separator. So I'm working through some of the details on that, but it's a code requirement that having a septic tank kind of change some of the requirements.
And again, explain to me why we're having a garage out there.
Well, it's a storage area for, it's got an ammunitions lock-in area so they can put all their bullets, ammunition inside this garage. There's going to be, we need a spot for the snow blower for the pathways. They have a gun cleaning area in there, so when they come in, they can clean their weapons on the bench. There's 2 storage areas, one for the sheriff's department, one for the FBI on each end of it. Essentially, it's just an open area so that we can bring our equipment into, or they can bring their equipment into and have a storage area more than necessarily a true garage. There won't be any vehicles necessarily parked in there, but it does have an overhead door. It looks like a garage. It's more of a storage area that's unfinished with concrete.
So, and that's because it looks like a garage, the requirements are that
Technically, you could park a vehicle in it, I guess, so. If you have an overhead door and you could say, well, you could be putting vehicles in here, I guess. You can say you won't, but they could also say, well, you will, so.
What a waste of money.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Owners Committee from the Tactical Center from 1217 are approved unanimously. Commissioner Potter, the Justice Center from December 18.
I
We're
think
going to talk about the change,
Alan's got a couple.
Oh, you have your other pieces?
Yeah, so as part of the recommendations or part of the minutes, Commissioner Hewson
Talk about the
wanted me to speak to
information.
the
Oh, sure.
PR4, which is some earthwork, and PR12, which is a turn lane. So kind of walk through and speak to those items and take a recommendation on how you'd like to move forward. But essentially what's going on, I don't know if you want to dim the lights or if you can see this well enough or not, but essentially this is a site plan. Obviously coming in off of 35 on this side, and I can speak to the turn lane first. On this north side of the road, there's already an existing turn lane that goes to the farm that's on the north side. As a part of the submittal plan to the highway department, they're requiring a turn lane on the south side of the road as well for eastbound traffic on 35. That was not a part of our original design or plan to have a turn lane. So we spoke with our earthwork contractor, and they can do it. They work for highway a lot and do all kinds of work for a highway department already. So they got some requirements from Chad on what he wants to see there, and they would propose just doing it on a time and material basis. We'll do it in spring. Obviously not going to happen right now, but the T&M cost was $37,088. We would have, I guess if it was moving forward or approved, we would have John out on the site, track their time, and we just do it on time and materials, not to exceed cost of that $37,000. But basically they need to come off of the shoulder to the south side, build a turn lane up to the entry into here. It's a requirement from the highway department, so.
Now, how many people are being coming from the west and heading east?
I don't know. I guess I can't answer that question, I'm not sure.
County Road 35 is a little busier than average.
I think part of the
It is
benefit
very
of it, to
busy,
be honest
actually.
with you, is I could see, this area is all still staged with a lot of soils from highway department. This road that comes in right here is in a really bad spot for trucks to pull in and out because of the hill that's immediately to the west. You can't see oncoming traffic. So I could see the possibility of trucks coming in here with a road coming off potentially someday that would be beneficial to everybody's safety with turn lanes. So if there were trucks slowing or coming off of there, maybe that makes some sense. Regular vehicle traffic, I'm not sure that I see a ton of value, but I'm not exactly sure what the thought was behind requiring that.
And Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do like the relocation of this entrance because the sight line is much better than the other one that was sitting there. The fact that it's across from that other driveway makes that a little bit easier. And I fully support doing the turn lanes in there because if the trucks come and go down the lower part, it is tough for people coming over that hill. And I think the traffic counts, if you could get that for Commissioner Delyden from the highway department, I think you might be surprised at a little more traffic than you might think on that road.
Well, no, and I know, I'm sure there's plenty of traffic, but my concern is how many people are coming from the west and turning into there?
Well,
And that's the only reason. It's like most of I would think 99% of the people are going to be coming from the east.
Yeah,
And
well-
there's already a bypass turn lane.
And I'll let
Commissioners, I'm not sure to answer that question. I don't know. It may be a discussion with highway to find out.
But, you know, and again, it may be because of eventually for truck traffic, and that makes sense.
If I remember correctly, that was still an asphalt road in, right?
No, it's gravel.
Oh, we did change,
It's all just-
or not gravel, I mean gravel road in,
Yep, gravel,
yeah.
class
Just,
five.
just around the building we're paving. Yep, so
Right.
it's-
No paving. Just,
Oh, there's-
there's concrete pad around the backside, but this is it's all gravel.
Oh, really? We're not doing any, I thought we were doing a few of it up around close to the building, but no.
Right up front here and just a little bit right up on the front, but the rest of the parking lot and all the drive lanes are all gravel.
It's all gravel, okay.
When they put the track out there to do the simulated chases, then they'd have to blacktop.
So part of this turn lane that we had talked about, I touched base with Virgil and Chad on if we do go ahead with this in spring, potentially we could combo it with some work that's going on near Maple. I think it's near Maple Lake happening this summer. That's in their bid package. Maybe there'd be some savings to have a paving contractor come in that's already somewhat close by to pave it, but I'm not sure yet. I don't have any information on any of that, but all I have is Fane's not to exceed number. So
But you said there is some paving going in down where the,
it's concrete.
oh, it's just all concrete?
Yep, concrete
No
off the
paving.
slab extends out on the apron. So I don't necessarily know that I need approval or anything or recommendation at this point. If you're gonna have more discussion with highway about requirements, but if we are moving forward, I guess that would be the recommendation I'd have, is to move forward with a not to exceed T&M contract or change with Fane.
Yeah,
So,
we've already approved it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
It is, yeah, so,
All right.
and then the second item is the earthwork PR4 that was noted in the minutes as well. And if any of you haven't been out there, I encourage you to stop out there and take a look, because all the panels are done, all the precast is done, most of the steel is set. They've got a little bit of steel is set, but the building is there basically now, so they're working on getting it closed up. It looks a lot different than it did before. But the second piece of it is off the back side of the building, where the overhead door is, off the south end of it. To get the building flat, we had to build up the south end. So now the building sits flat, but there's kind of a drop off the back that we intended on people walking from there down to the site to shoot and walking out to this primitive range. The direction or intention has changed a bit from the request of the sheriff's department, and quite honestly, I do agree with it. Either we should have something coming off of that berm side, just extending down, or the sheriff's department would like some sort of just a gravel area to park down here, so that if people drive in, they're training, doing their thing, they just drive their equipment down out that way. It is a bit of a walk to get down there. It's somewhat of an optional thing. The second component of the earthwork PR is, just pull up a map of the site, probably easier to look at it this way. So the building sits right up in here. There's some of the existing or pre-existing range area, but our parcel also includes this back here. Currently, the way the site and the ranges are in place, there really is no access back there. That lowland, wetland area, this was just put in as a future intention of some type to get back to the road indicator. It wasn't really anything placed, but that wetland area extends right up to very close to where that primitive three-sided berm is, right in here. The wetland extends all the way up to it. So part of that PR is to put in small boulder wall up along the side right here so that we can cut a road through there, basically a pathway, so if you ever did anything or needed to ever get back to that field or to the back side of the property, you'd have an access point. Right now, you can't drive back to there. I guess you could 4x it probably along the side of the wetland, but there's no access point to get to the back of the property. So the PR would be to extend the gravel and put a small lot back in here, not hauling anything in, using soils that are on site. Letting it firm up and see what that's like. If it's fine, drivable, all good. And then the second piece of it would be to extend a road up to this corner, and there's an existing road that goes through the trees already back this way, back to that back field. So it's essentially carving out part of this berm pile and putting in a small boulder wall so you can drive through there to get back to the back field.
Well, who's gonna go back there?
Mr. Chair.
That when they
I
do
don't
the
know if
driving?
you ever
right?
need.
Mr. Potter?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the recollection of what that back area was, that was a potential future driving training area.
Right.
That was what was discussed before. I don't know at what point in time it may happen, but it'd be nice to keep the access there in case it does happen. Say there's some grant because right now they're doing their training out at the compost facility. Not exactly
in other
ideal.
places.
Not exactly ideal, but that space back there is large enough to handle all the different situations they'd be in, which is kind of nice. So it'd be nice to have that road back there. Thanks for catching that.
But, Mr. Chair, wouldn't, if we ever did that, why, I mean, you're gonna have to go back there to build roads anyway. Why couldn't you do it at that point? I mean, what would be the difference?
You could really honestly do it either way, anytime, I guess. Either way, you're gonna have to peel it out.
I mean, I don't see the benefit of doing it now, really, when, because I'll put money on it, that if we ever do put driving, a regular driving range, or however you want to call it back there, that they'll be redoing it anyway.
Well, yeah, because they're gonna have to upgrade it from what we're gonna do it to. We're gonna do it real primitive, and they're gonna want, it's gonna have to be,
I don't see the benefit now. I'd rather wait to see what's going to happen, and when it's going to happen in the end.
Well, and Mr. Chair, the other thing, there's also, I think it's Judicial Ditch too, that would be nice to have access to it. It's right to the south of it.
Is it right behind there?
Yeah.
Okay. No,
That is, I can show you where that,
And then, the other thing I was gonna mention, Alan, as far as a walk down to the range,
goes right
or,
through here.
right,
Yeah, that's the ditch right there.
So the road comes in off the, let me just get my bearings here. So the current road path came in this way, went down around the corner and crosses the ditch right here. There's a culvert and a bridgeway. And then came up through into that backfield.
Well, is somebody farming that backfield?
They were, until we started this site, that agreement at least was expired, and let that go this year, but nobody's farming it anymore.
What are we going to do with it? Because we'll end up with our weed inspector gonna.
right.
Oh,
I mean,
we've got to be.
the thing should be sprayed down and seeded with prairie grass or something. I don't know. If we're not gonna do anything with it, we haven't gotten, I guess, any thought or input, or haven't had a lot of discussion
Well,
about what to do with it.
Does somebody have access? How did they get access to that before?
Right here on this road.
Right,
So they came through this field, across, through this road, back into this field.
right. And you don't think they're gonna be able to get through there now?
I mean, I could sneak between the
If
berm and
if you put that wall up, would they be able to
Yeah.
get back there?
I mean, we'd make it the width of a scraper, so it would be, I don't know what they are,
Are they farming that other
wide or
field then?
something.
It
What's
probably-
that?
Will they be farming that other field or not? The one up above, or that's all?
There hasn't really been a decision on it. There's nothing out here necessarily. We scraped some of the soils up in here to make corrections on the site, but this whole side is all empty.
But they
we
might
should
as
put the
well,
berm in and farm both
they might as well
parcels.
get some hay out there and, bale some hay off it anyway, but
pretty
I'm saying the
sandy.
road to get back there though,
it's
to
gonna
get
better than-
any kind of farm equipment back, even when it's folded up, you're probably gonna need 12 to 14 feet wide,
Right.
so.
Yeah, so the intention would be to cut back the side of that primitive berm, which goes like right about here. It's three-sided, would be right in this lane in here. Cut that the width of a scraper, or I guess is wide yet to be determined. It doesn't really make any difference. Then put in a boulder wall. We'd find some boulders and make a boulder wall just to hold that retaining.
So if we put that wall up, is the sheriff going to have any objection to us to putting out some hay or something in those two fields? I mean, that we know of? Is he?
It shouldn't. I mean, because it's not like you're out there farming it all the time. You're out there for a half a day and you're done, and they probably, whatever, so. But my thing, I was trying to think of a more reasonable way to do it is maybe do something with soil and water, and because it would be for farm access back there, you only need to replace the wetland, 1-to-1. So you could do something to expand the wetland, and Mr. Kreiser could help us. But I said, we could fill in the wetland on the west end there and make a new expanded, so you just move it, and it's legal, right? I think it would be cheaper, it might be cheaper to do it that way.
Where's,
than-
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
But it would be for ag use, so.
where's the fence at gonna be?
The
You mean like?
perimeter fence?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Then you'd have a
It
nice
shows
road.
it on the site. There is a fence that runs through, basically straight along. That's part of the question. So there's a gate here, so if you come through, you can get out. The septic sits right up along the outside of the fence. The well is on this side, but then this is the fence line, runs straight down between the wetland, and then this is oak trees in here. So the fence runs basically straight through up to the corner.
Okay, so,
We'd go between this corner, we'd chop this off right about here to get access through this way. If we had, part of the question is, are we going to farm it? If we're gonna farm it, then we probably need to relocate the fence over tight against the berm so you can drive through the field that way. I think the most expensive way to do would be to relocate the wetland, but that's my.
I don't think so. Farmers do it all the time. I mean, if we need a road and then you create a wetland, you dig it out on another spot, you expand it over here and fill in a spot there,
Right.
It'd just be a permit.
Yeah, I understand that, it's just the machine time, I think. Either you're cutting the
Well, the
berm with a
engineering-
scraper, you're just running a scraper. You're just running the scraper through versus now you're bringing in a traco.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Burrell, just looking at this right here, I'm wondering about a de minimis exception. If we can just take up, I don't know what the square footage on the wetland is if you were to make the road impact it just a little bit, if you could get it under the de minimis exception. As far as, recreating the wetland, I'm afraid that we're going to incur more engineering expenses than we want to. I mean, technically, we're the government, we're not a farming agency, so I think it'd be a stretch if we tried to do the farming thing.
Well, it would be for that purpose, but anyway, I understand.
Yeah.
So,
I think looking at the survey here, I mean, I don't have the big plan in front of me, but I can't believe it'd
we
be
could
that much impact.
just impact it a little bit
Yep.
and be de minimis.
It might be 100 square feet maybe to get another foot on the road for 10 feet.
Okay,
Maybe.
that could be, but I mean, you got lots of fill there, that might be better than, Alan, maybe just look at it and see if you couldn't put just a little bit of fill in and just get it permitted for that. Because anything that you can do to make it a little wider would be better for future.
And I don't know that we necessarily need an answer today, so if anybody wants to look at it, then we're not doing anything for a couple months yet, obviously, so.
But either
Want to
way,
set something up to look at it in the future and address it in spring, that's fine, I don't need an answer, just.
I think we have to consider having an access, because whether we farm it or we have to go out there and plant prairie grass, we have to have an
Might as
access
well
to get
farm
back
it.
there.
We have to,
Then we might as well
yeah.
farm it, because if we're gonna pay for prairie grass seed, and we're still gonna have an access to get back there to seed it for prairie
And
grass.
then we have to seed it, whereas
Yeah.
if you just told some farmer you're gonna get it for at least 3 years, and then just get the hay off it and do
Because
whatever.
that's what they're doing now is haying.
Hey, it's
Yeah,
better than
it-
nothing, so.
Yep, no, it makes sense,
Yep.
with that, when you look at it from that
That's it,
aspect.
yep.
So essentially, most of this area is still there. Almost, probably 90% of this field is still there, and this field is all still there.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah,
We don't want it
Go
growing
forward
up.
with it, Alan,
Commissioner Burrell is right, it just, let somebody hay it, do whatever they want with it, at
Put
no
something.
charge, I mean, it's not the greatest.
so then we need to locate the road for farming use, and that we'd try to move the fence in and get a road through here?
Yeah.
Is that what
Yep.
your direction is?
Yep.
I think so.
Whatever makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Commissioner Hewson?
Sure. Alan, then the other question was about that kind of gravel parking area down by the range, and they were, they really would like that
Yeah, that makes
access.
sense though, too.
So,
And
I
like you
thought so
said, you're
too.
not using you're not hauling anything in, everything is there, so.
No, essentially when they did the site corrections and grading, they just spread, I think, 4 inches of topsoil, so they would just scrape that 4 inches of call it black topsoil, it's kind of black sand.
Black sand.
But it is a mess when it gets wet, it's pretty nasty stuff, it's got a little clay in it, as topsoil, so we just scrape that back open and expose, which would leave a void, we'd probably throw some more of the gravelly sand from the site right back in it.
Yep. That makes sense. Get it more convenient for them to get it down there.
Yep.
All right,
All right,
you,
thank you,
Board.
Alan.
Good.
We already
Thank you.
approved those minutes, so now we'll move on to the December 18th, Commissioner Potter, the Justice Center Owners Committee.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. The Justice Center Owners Committee met December 18th. The usual cast of suspects were there, and including Representative Marion O'Neill. She came in to check it out. She sits on the Judiciary Committee at the House, which is kind of nice. Not that it's going to I maybe gets a grant someday. Basically, just we're about 75% of the project-ish there. And they're installing the sheetrock in the areas, the ceiling grids are going in, and that, we'll talk about the grids really quick here. And that level 0 is just the sheetrocking area and the mechanical, electrical, plumbing have been installed. Construction finishes will continue north into the areas of A and B. The crews will install sheetrock in level 1. The coiling doors are being installed. And the security at court administration, that's taken shape quite well. And it's actually looking like something now. You can go out there and actually see what it's going to look like. Level 2, not much activity in the other areas. The ceiling grid is being completed and work crews are working on the east corridor taping and painting, which I saw that. They're continuing to work on the stairway framing. And they did that Venetian plaster, and that didn't quite turn out. Hopefully we can correct that issue there. Level 3, the work continues on millwork framing, installing the courtroom 3042. Final delivery is expected on 12/19, which should be in there. We did get it a day or a couple days late, wasn't it?
Sorry, which one?
On courtroom 3042, there was a delivery that was supposed to be on the 19th, and the day after we met, I
Yeah,
think they
it
said
came the day after.
Came the day, okay, did show up, okay. And the Curry spoke about the spring schedule and the number of work days needed. I asked about the status of the parking lot to the east of the facility, because with the admin building, we moved that storage area, the vehicle storage, so that they're still working on those plans. He should have something pretty quick for us, because that had to be changed just a slight bit. And they talked about the furniture package and we did a mock-up for workstations, or it will be delivered later in January with some of the furnishings there. Schedule finalized to communicate the dates. Allow departments to schedule review their dates are coming up. We've had all departments have been out there with their people looking at it, and they've had a couple ideas that actually made sense. That, okay, yeah, this little twist here, this is a good time to do it. And they talked about the cell boosters, distribution center, sound masking, the PA systems, and all that. So the next meeting is January 15th, and it really wasn't a lot in this one, except for a couple change orders, and one particular that I have Alan here to talk about. We have change orders today is $1,500,076. It's for 4.7%. There's with all the contingencies today, we still have $470,000 in the contingency budget. And of all the contingencies here, was a wall hydrant, expansion joint changes, ADA changes, and there's level 0 shower. The one that caught the eye and we need to make the rest of the board understand is the public corridor ceiling changes. This one was at $25,000, and this one caught the eye right away. It's like, okay, what are we talking here? And Alan, if you could come up and explain that a little bit to challenge we have right there.
Sure. Board, so the question or the challenge that we're faced with is the west corridor on all 4 levels of the building. So the public corridor had 8-foot linear lights that ran across the corridor as you looked down the hallway. They went from the glass line to the courtroom side. The intention, and when it was designed and inlaid, was the 8-foot lights fit into that ceiling grid and into the framing. When the shops were submitted, I understand there was no indication that 8-foot lights, there was any extension of that. Well, when the material came in, and on the 3rd and 4th level, they framed in outside of the courtrooms, the wood extends across the ceiling to the west perimeter. They framed it in and put the backer in. When they went to install the lights so they could continue with the wood, they found that the mounting clips and the mounting hardware for the lights was longer than 8 feet that was indicated with the fixtures. So it didn't fit in the corridor. So this change order is essentially to turn the lights 90 degrees and run them linear down the hallway. There's no cost associated, obviously, with the lights or with the install. The cost is to reframe those fronts of the courtrooms where the metal studs and the backer board is in place already. So they would have to open that up, reframe it so that the lights would insert. I haven't gone through the process or haven't approved or agree with the cost yet. As of last week, I was considering the option of Just not having the lights directly in front of the courtrooms with all the windows there and the lights immediately next to it, we might not need those couple fixtures. But I have BKV working on some rendering images of what that would look like or what impact that would have on the corridor. But essentially, it's just the change is to turn the lights 90 degrees and run them linear down the corridor versus crossways in the corridor. They don't fit otherwise.
And Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Potter.
This cost is a worst-case scenario cost. This is, if nothing goes right, this would be the most it costs, although we're working on minimizing this cost as much as we can.
Right, Commissioner, this would be started if we decided that we're going to do that and keep those lights. This would be a not to exceed T&M, and the framers, I mean, they're taking a shot at it. They don't know exactly how much time it's gonna take them to do it, so I would expect that if we approved it, it would be less than this amount, but this would be a not to exceed number.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Dahlheim.
I'm trying to figure out why this would be our problem. I mean, it was designed one way, the submittals were supplied, so either it wasn't reviewed correctly, or somebody screwed up somewhere else, but this is not the county's problem, as far as I'm concerned.
I would tend to agree with you, and that's why I haven't approved it yet. I'm trying to find alternates and try to figure out what exactly was submitted as compared to designed and why it is that way. I've had some of those discussions, just haven't gotten to the bottom of it yet.
I mean, you know, 25,000, I mean, it's, you know, for the scope of the whole system, it isn't that much, but it's the principle of the thing. We pay good money for an architect, and engineering, and construction management. So I would have think that
It should have been foreseeable.
something didn't get caught or something.
Yep.
So to me, I don't think it's the county problem, and I don't think the county should be paying for it, period. But that's just my opinion.
And I believe that is a correct opinion as you look at it that way, but this one, just want to bring it up to the attention because the approvals here, the minutes in this 25,000, the PR 100 is going to be not approved today, but you're working on it. You'll come back with us with the final number and we'll.
Yeah, I'm not requesting approval of the PR at this point. It's on the
I just
agenda
wanna
that it
make
was
that clear
discussed,
that
but.
wasn't what we're looking for, but the rest of them are there of minor inconsequential, I should say, with minor details that come up at the end there, but the, otherwise, everything else is looking good and looking forward to a good spring and hopefully after next month, we'll have the drawings and the renderings for the east parking lot behind the Justice Center, get that kind of, how that's got to lay out.
Yeah, Commissioners, that east parking, just to kind of an update on that, it was somewhat pushed a little to the back burner while we got PR 9 done for the third floor of the government center. That was kind of an all-hands-on-deck thing to get figured out. And now that is designed at least, so we're working through the pricing for it further in detail, as you know, but now the attention's back on that east lot to get the exterior done.
There's a couple minor challenges with expanding and redoing that east parking lot, but nothing that can't be figured out, nothing fatal in there.
Well, and we're planning on utilizing more of that acquired property now that wasn't on the
And
table,
moving
so.
the vehicle storage there changed a couple little dynamics in there, so this is the time to just do it right. And plus, if you recall, before we acquired the Bremer property, that parking lot back there was a little bit on the skinny side for what it should have been.
It was.
You know, this way, now we've acquired that property, now we can make that proper for that
Yeah.
area. You know, so that, there was one change we kind of sort of foresaw, but it's just coming to fruition today, but
Commissioners, just one last note. We did some soil borings on that east berm line that was kind of between and separated the parking and into the Bremer lot to find out what the soils are in there. We don't know what's been done there in the past, and I haven't gotten that report back, but it should be back here shortly. Then we'll know what we're dealing with and what kind of costs, if we got to move dirt or not, identify where that structure is going to go.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So do we take over officially tomorrow the Bremer property, or is that, when was
Election, it was 12/31 of 19.
okay, so they no longer can scavenge anything else. So when is our timeline for taking down the house? Or are we gonna try and sell the house to get moved to see if somebody wants it?
There's been some salvage there, but it's probably gonna be a remove it, what's left.
And then the shed, do we have to, is there a requirement by the shed to be removed by a certain time? Otherwise,
How about make that guy that bought it take it down?
sorry, I had to throw that in.
That does, Commissioners, that does bring up a good question of how you want to handle that building. You know, there's septic there, there's a well needs to be closed, septic collapse, but the house itself, how we want to attack getting rid of that, if we just want to demo it, if we want, I had some discussions with the fire department about, I mean, if they wanted to do some training there or something, but I think being close to Highway 25 and the impact to traffic, maybe they're not interested. I'm not sure, haven't gotten an answer, but some ideas that maybe we need to have some discussion about how we want to get rid of that structure.
Well, I would think you could at least offer to a house moving company. You want it? Here. I mean, it wouldn't cost, it's gonna cost us money to tear it down, destroy it. If they're willing to haul it away, and then they can resell it to somebody. But that would be up to a regular house mover. I know it's been moved already.
It's been moved already, and all those are additions on it, so a house mover might not want to touch that.
Again, but we don't know that, so I would say offer to a house mover and see if they want it. If they don't, well then, we're not out any money asking. And you know, they're the experts on that sort of stuff. I don't know.
We can always ask them. I don't foresee them even wanting to touch this.
They may not, but
Because I have moved a house to a property, and they are a little picky on which houses they take, you know. And the expense of doing house moving is a lot more than it used to be. You have a hard time taking an older house and moving into a new city lot because you are required to make it match the new codes, the new building codes, and you can't make a 1950s house
no,
match new building codes.
but there's still other places too. I mean, there's,
Doesn't hurt to ask, though.
Well, no, it doesn't hurt to ask, but I wouldn't hold my breath on that one.
no, but it's worth a try. And then at that point, you know, after you
Maybe you could
see
check
if there's
with,
somebody that's interested, if everybody turns you down, then we'll have to figure out what to do.
Maybe you can work out with that pole shed and move that up to your property on Monticello Township.
No, it's too small.
Okay. With that, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the Owners Committee for the Justice Center minutes and the really not
I'll
recommendation.
second
We
it.
have a motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Dahlheiden for the minutes and recommendation from December 18th Owners Committee Justice Center. Any further discussion?
One quick question, Mr.
Yes.
Chair. We still on schedule for end of summer?
Yes.
Commissioners, the facility will be completed roughly June 1st. End of May, early June is a target to have the building wrapped up and essentially done. I have requested a schedule of amount of days needed after frost out to get the exterior improvements done, and we're working on doing that. We don't have all the information yet back. But I would target that probably mid-July is a good time frame to say the site will be ready for people to move in and be used.
Oh, okay.
We're working through the timing as well about department moves and how courts are gonna stage their schedules, if they're gonna stay here while the other departments move, or if we're gonna jump in right away, or how that's gonna work. So I would just probably target August 1 as a good date that the facility be up and running, just because of the
So
site
look at like a
work.
ribbon cutting somewhere around the first week in August potentially. All right,
Thank you.
all right. Any other further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Minutes and recommendations are approved unanimously for Justice Center Owners Committee minutes from December 18th. Now we are up to the Committee of the Whole from the 12-13. Commissioner Dahlheiden, would you like to walk us through those real quick?
Yep, the committee of the whole met on December 13th. We were all present. I make a motion to approve the minutes.
second.
There was a number of items that were discussed. The trunk access charge, which I don't know if we ever got a final amount on that, but there was some questions about whether it was paid when the LEC was put out there and the highway department and all that sort of stuff. So that was all getting reviewed, and I think they did get some of it figured out, but I think they were still trying to get that all figured out on what the additional sack and whack charges and all that sort of stuff was going to be. Next item discussed was the dental clinic. This dental clinic, again, is just, it's for not competing with the existing dental clinics in the area. It is exclusively, I should say exclusively, but it's for those that are on MA, which local dental offices do not take, just because it's such a low amount that's paid based on federal guidelines and stuff. So we are looking at working with a company to put in a dental clinic that would be strictly, again, majority of the patients would be for MA patients. So that hopefully will be coming forward. Third item was the Health Partners Health Clinic.
Sorry, it's super dark. There we go. Sorry.
Wake up, Derek.
I know, I've fallen asleep. Yeah.
I liked it.
You like, oh.
County administrator and staff had toured the Anoka County's clinic and had some discussion with Health Partners, and we approved that today, a letter of intent with Health Partners indicating an interest in and pursuing it. So find out what's going to happen more with that as time goes on. And item D was, we call it a cafe space. We don't know what's going to go there yet, whether it's going to be a coffee shop. I know, that's right. The excuse that was last week is that we hadn't published anything yet or requested anybody to do it because the minutes hadn't been approved. So hopefully next week we'll have a number of people that are interested in putting out a proposal for a coffee shop or something. So hopefully we'll have something out there for a coffee shop, lunch counter, whatever you want to call it.
Soup, sandwich, coffee shop.
It just depends on what kind of proposals we get from local companies, and hopefully we'll have something that'll be beneficial to the residents of the county and our employees. And with that, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes and the recommendations, and highly that last recommendation of Wilczek and Enright will develop a request for proposals that presented at a future county board meeting.
Second.
So that should be today.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Dahl and second by Commissioner Burrell for the minutes and recommendations from the Committee of the Whole from 12/13. Any other further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Owners Committee minutes sorry, not owners, the Committee of the Whole are approved unanimously. All of us met again on December 12th, or December 19th. I will cover these ones here. We basically talking over the new government center again as well in a continuation. BKV brought back renderings of the third floor, the new government center with the modifications. As the bonds proceeds were in at 50, just a hair under 54 million. At the current time, we are roughly at a cost of about 48.7 million. With that, we had the proceeds there of a little over 5.2 million. We looked at making modifications to the third floor to make it work even flow better and be able to have more longevity out of it. So those renderings came back from BKV at a rough cost estimate of about $3.8 million. We had some good discussions and review of that modified third floor. And it was discussed that we'd like to see that number a little bit lower than the $3.8 million. The BKV group and Contegrity believed that the 3.8 was on the high side. They will look to see what cost savings they can make and modifications to bring that cost factor down. It was agreed to continue forward with this path and seeing what cost savings to come more into that lower dollar amount below that $3.8 million. But the new third floor plan does give a lot more expanded space for longevity, saving the cost to the county in the future. Second item that was discussed was the new, was the Justice Center Government Center, the site paving, concrete, and lighting modifications. Just because there was an additional, between blending the two projects together, there was an additional $100,000 that would be not budgeted because it was between the two different budgets of the projects and where the funds are going to come from, which project was going to pay for it, and whether it would be coming from that additional proceeds to blend the paving and landscaping between the projects. The recommendation was to approve the site paving and concrete lighting changes per PR 63. The third item that was discussed was the camera system and electrical and fiber. There was some additional wiring that was going to need to be ran out to the different posts throughout the site plan. There was some additional cost to that, in the neighborhood of roughly around $78,000. And basically putting everything kind of more in a uniform camera system. The recommendation was to authorize moving forward with the change order, the new government center, site camera systems, and electrical and fiber. With that, I will make a motion.
Mr. Chair, you can't make motions.
Oh, sorry, you're right.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
See, I so rarely do minutes that I.
That's right, next week you can.
Next week I can, I know.
Next week you
I'll
can.
second that.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Hewson.
Delighted.
Oh, Commissioner Delighted. And second by Commissioner Hewson. To approve the December 19th Committee of the Whole minutes and recommendations. Any further discussion?
Yeah, just a correction on the spelling for Wilmer Electric in Justice Center. Second and third paragraph under number 2. Should Willmar. I mean, it's the same Wilmer Electric, correct? As the other?
Probably, I mean,
Maybe double check that if it's not, but.
if not, there'd be
right.
some like trademark infringements maybe.
Yeah, right. So it should be Willmar.
All right. So with that, we have a motion and a recommendation. Any other further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Owners Committee, or sorry, Owners, I don't know why I keep saying that. The Committee of the Whole from 1219 is approved unanimously. Now we have the Committee of the Whole from 1217. Administrator Kelly, would you do us the wonderful privilege of walking us through those?
Will do. As you mentioned, we met on the 17th with commissioners in attendance and myself and representatives from IT, Health and Human Services, Attorney's Office. The purpose of this meeting was a IT director report to the board after 90 days on the job. So he kind of provided an overview of his thoughts on IT as the central nervous system to the organization and talked through some of the challenges and strengths that he sees as being part of the department for 90 days now. So he stressed that all items should have IT, should go through IT, and this is not currently happening. He's noticed there's been issues trying to get some projects done and is trying to find ways to streamline this process and get things moving. I talked a little bit about compensation and the recent classification and compensation study and some of the areas where we've had some trouble filling positions, and we've leveraged contractors in those areas to get the work done. Talked about some strategic planning and how the county is really in the process of finding out who they are and where we want to go from here. So discussions have taken place with administration regarding that. He said one of the positives of the department that there's many good and talented employees, people that want to be here and to do good work for the county. So his strategic focus is moving forward with looking at mobility, connectivity, and agility. He noted as technology rapidly changes, we need to be positioned to allow access to our data while in the field and mobile with flexibility to be able to do that. So from the commissioners, he requested to support the lines of communication and reinforce departments to follow the chain of command. Also asked for additional money to be provided for certifications, as those are key in IT's environment today, and that IT projects should have IT involvement at some level. The last part was a discussion of some needs for positions. He felt we would benefit from 3 positions: a security specialist, a software portfolio analyst, and an office manager. So the request was to get a revised organizational chart presented and start working on developing some of those job descriptions. So the recommendation was to develop job description for a security specialist and portfolio analyst, get those written and pointed, and for FOMBI to attend the Committee of the Whole on Strategic Planning, which is taking place later today.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. One thing I like to ask.
I'll second that, and then, but I think we should also ask Matt if he could really tell us what he really thinks next time. I'm saying that sarcastically. Matt shared his opinions
Yeah,
very
Mr. Chair.
candidly.
Yes, Commissioner Dahlheim?
For one thing, that I would like to really stress, and I would like to ask that the county administrator send out an email to everybody in the county that no software, absolutely no software will be allowed if it hasn't gone through IT. No matter how small a software, people think it's no big deal. That absolutely no software be installed without going through IT.
Yeah.
Yep, they wouldn't show. I was amazed. I thought we had it locked down pretty
I
good.
thought
I thought
we
we
did
had it
too.
locked down pretty good too, but I guess it's still taking place more than anyone would actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whether, even if it's cloud-based, it has to go through IT. Because we need to make sure that it's not gonna have any effect
Right.
on the county. And then the problem is, from my understanding anyways, is a department installs it, and now they need help,
Right.
and now we spent this money that we can't get to because it didn't go through the proper channels.
Right.
So, as far as I'm concerned, if department installs software, thinking that it's never going to be an issue for IT, and it becomes an issue for IT, that it goes to the bottom of the pile, and that department is going to get suffered, because it's just not policy, or it's not correct to do it that way.
Yep.
I mean, that was one of the reasons why we started the IT, the technology group, was because people were buying software and it was sitting on a shelf because it hadn't been vetted. So, no more of this.
It was a good discussion though from that December 17th meeting. I mean, even just from a philosophy of where we're going to go forward in terms
Right.
of budgeting for softwares within departments and for hardware within departments and where that should live. And it's going to be kind of an ongoing discussion. And as we kind of talk about today in our strategic talk about how we are going to, post those funds and where in our budget and where they should live and what makes the most sense. So with that, we have a motion and we have a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Committee of the Whole is approved unanimously from 12:17. Now we are down to the Personnel, Employee Relations from 12:18. Commissioner Hewsome.
All right. Members present at our Personnel Employee Relations were Leiden, Hewsome, Sean Johnson, also Goodrum Schwartz, Pooler, Sheriff Derringer, Captain O'Malley, Noel Flesher, Neil Hugh Moeller, Steve Job, Lee Kelly, and Lori Pollock. And the first item was the approval of a .5 social worker position. And we had a presentation a few weeks ago on the jail assistance release program. And Joe Pooler distributed a handout that included the request for a .5 adult mental health social worker position, and also the background information that was provided at previous Health and Human Services meeting. So the jail release program has been, it's a collaboration between the Wright County Health and Human Services and the Wright County Sheriff's Department. It's led to reduced recidivism in the Wright County Jail.
Actually, there's one person that should be included in that, and that's the court services, the parole officers.
You're right, you're right.
They
Yep.
should have been included in that,
Yep, you're right.
because they were also there.
They're part of the jail assistance, yep.
Yep.
So it started in August of 2018, concluded in January 2019. 93 inmates participated, and only one of them returned to the jail, which is very amazing after working in a jail for many years. The program was reinstated in March of 2019. At that time, 88 inmates participated with 4 repeat offenders. So Gudrun Schwartz, the Human Services Director, reported that the pilot program was highly successful, and they're going to be receiving $57,000 in grant funding from Community Adolescent Mental Health Initiative to provide enhanced release assistance planning in 2020. And it really has helped with them transitioning and reduces recidivism. Cooler commented that through the grant, the schedule was limited. However, they're still able to serve 93 clients. Sheriff's Office understood the benefits and funded an additional $1,000 per month to provide additional hours of client services for the Release Assistance Program. The additional funding has been able to increase the number of clients served to 120, and they plan to follow through with the metrics report and share the findings with the county board in the near future. Captain O'Malley said that the jail serves close to 130 people per day, and even though 120 in a year might be a drop in the bucket, but it's a great start, and would like to see this position be full-time. And I commended this program. I think it's great. And also, Delighten asked about the benefits to the other inmates that we board, and Captain O'Malley said that there's a representative from Sherburne County who comes out 2 days a week and has been working with their inmates. So we're just really, looking at this as not only helping people be more successful and return to society as contributors, but also it really cuts down on the expenses overall for the county. So that was to approve the 0.5 FTE mental health adult mental health social worker. And the second one was a position replacement for the administrative assistant in the surveyor department. We had discussion because there was, this is a newly created position, and the candidate that was hired was only there for 2.5 months and raised some concern about what the workload was and what the requirements were for the job. And there was actually 80 applicants and 2 internal candidates, but Job said there is a department need. He was hoping that somebody with experience in land surveying, GIS mapping would have come forward. But it is, the line says, kind of a unique situation and environment that it would be beneficial to have a plan. So what is this employee responsible for, and what would they be working on? So it seemed like there was some confusion about that. So Human Resources Director Sean Johnson suggested including a weekly or possibly daily work plan for communication and scheduled trainings to allow the new employee to become more efficient and to really know what the job is. So Administrator Kelly requested Job work with and submit a new hire work plan to himself and HR Director Sean Johnson prior to posting this. So the recommendation is to develop a new hire work plan with Administrator Kelly and HR Director Johnson prior to reposting for the position requirement in the survey department. And with that, Mr. Chair, I will move the minutes and the recommendation.
Motion by Commissioner Hewsom, second by Commissioner Dahlheim. I do want to say that program over in the jail is a very worthwhile program. We have to continue that on, and I hope it can continue to grow so we can service more inmates, because it's a huge cost saving by reducing recidivism.
It is, and I mean, just to, build them up again after they've, been down, and to help them be successful. And I did suggest that for the next AMC annual conference that they do a presentation. So hopefully by then they'll, be able to put together a workshop. I mean, I just see that this growing in the state and offering, showing what they've done to be successful.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Potter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I see the benefit of this as a part-time, it's grant-funded right now, but just have the board be mindful that at some point in time, if you go from a part-time to a full-time and it's no longer grant, it's going to be a budget issue.
Oh, yeah.
So let the
Yep.
people
Oh,
know,
yeah.
because we've had that in the past where a lot of positions started out as grant-funded and then all of a sudden morphed into, our monkey, basically.
Yep.
So just be mindful of that, and a lot of these things, you just gotta be real careful so we don't have like 8 or 10 of these type things coming at us, and all of a sudden we got another 17% budget increase.
But you also have to look at 93 people and 1 returning,
Yeah.
and so we are boarding them, and that's part of our cost as a county, so.
But if we don't give them the tools, we're only going to have more deputies on the street having to go arrest them again
Right.
later on. There's a huge cost savings to
It
not
is.
having more
It's-
deputies on the street.
It's hard to
by-
put a number on that, but we know it's a huge cost
My
savings.
point is-
A lot more than 57, but
My
yeah.
point is, this is grant-funded today
Oh, yeah.
for a part-time person. And if this morphs into a full-time person and there's all of a sudden no more grant money, that has budget implications. So you
Oh,
just gotta be
absolutely.
mindful of
Yeah.
that.
And it
Very, very
basically,
aware of that.
and it basically is a part-time now, and we're looking at, adding, so it will be a full-time person, but.
The only plus side is you have a captive audience. I tell you, these people, they're forced almost to work with them because, that's the biggest thing about people in these situations. If you don't give them the tools when they are focused on being able to better their life, trying to get them on the other end is almost impossible. So, but I agree.
My point is just
Commissioner Potter.
budgetary,
Yep,
just
absolutely.
budgetary. It has nothing to do with the validity of this, which I see the value in it.
Yep,
I think there's a lot of value in it, you just be mindful.
I agree. If and that's where you have to, weigh it out. So we'll keep an eye on it. All right, any other discussions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
I,
Opposed, same signs? The Personnel Committee and recommendations from December 18th passes unanimously. Commissioner Burrell, you get to bag cleanup here on the Ways and Means Committee from December 18th.
Okay, Mr. Chair, and I'm just going to kind of do an overview on this because the 2 reports, one is from the agricultural inspector, our weed inspector, we sometimes call him, and the drainage inspector as well. Both reports are included in the minutes, but I'm just going to touch a few highlights. But members present were Commissioner Hewson, myself, and Administrator Kelly, Assistant Administrator Virgin, Attorney Kreiser, Parks Administrator Mark Mattias, Matt Detchen, Mike Young, and Eric Heron were both there. Like I said, they presented their reports and told about the past year and kind of looking toward the future, what's in store. Eric Hearing, the weed inspector, said he sent out 43 general notices, which was the same as he did the previous year. He did express some good things and some bad. He said there's some areas where he's making really good progress. He's getting real good cooperation with some of the townships. Other times he runs into some frustrations with like the DOT and other townships and different things. I think overall, I think the county, he said, was working real good with him, so that's good. And then Attorney Kreiser did mention too, and I did also, that the county board and the attorney's office will support him and if he needs that, if he needs some backup. So we told him make sure if that's the case that he will bring it forward. We talked about this, I think, a couple of years ago already, but it's a weed it's called Phragmites, and they use them in the treatment plants. It's that giant, like a reed type thing to take the nitrogen and everything out of the sewage treatment plants. And it has spread, and he said right now there are 57 verified sites where it's gone beyond their perimeters. So he said it's a very difficult thing to control because it's a grass, unlike some of the other things where you can spray with a broadleaf herbicide and still leave the grass grow. They don't really have a great chemical for controlling it, so they're going to try to mow it and different things to get it under control. But he just wanted to put that on the radar screen, so we'll have to keep an eye out for that in the future. Then Mike Young, our drainage inspector, also, there's a report inside. He mentioned that they are, along with the drainage coordinator, Detchen, they've worked out a plan where they're inspecting the ditches. I think he said they're doing 7 of them, at least 7 a year. So We have 33 ditches, so every 5 years, according to state law, we will have our ditches inspected on a rotating cycle like that. We did mention at the end of the meeting, I don't know if it's in the meeting, but in the minutes, but we did mention that we are looking to possibly consolidate these positions in a larger role in the, what are we calling this new position, Mr. Chair? The one that would be under, with the parks and under Matt Detchen.
Yep.
What's the name of it, though?
I don't know.
Yeah, but anyway, but we
I
said.
don't know if we have a name.
I think for the foreseeable future, we would want to keep them on, at least maybe in a reduced role, but I think it would be a kind of a phase-in deal, the way we'd work it out.
To train that person.
That person would probably work with them, and at some point, we'll just see where the future takes it, but that these positions could be encompassed into that new position that we would have under the auditor and the Parks Department. And I can't remember the name of it, but anyway. But as far as the recommendations, for this year, we're gonna continue the agricultural inspector contract, the same as 2020. And also for the drainage inspector, the contract would be also the same for 2020. So with that, Ms. Chair, I'll move forth the minutes and the recommendations.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner Dahlheiden for the minutes and recommendations for the Ways and Means Committee from December 18th. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Potter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Phragmites, I have some of that on my property, and Eric figures it's directly a result from the wastewater plant. Is where
They
it came
said
from.
it's in
They were
Delano,
never there before.
and the St. Michael, Albertville, and probably Roundup or something like that is about the only thing, but then that kills everything, so.
Right.
He says he wants to cut them when they're bushed, because they're really tall, much taller than the cattails.
Right.
And a big bushy thing on the top. He needs to cut them and burn them. He says he'll get rid of them, because if you put the herbicide down there, the fertilizer, you'll kill everything else. But if you cut these and burn them, you'll be fine with that. But it's kind of crazy, because those only showed up about 5 years ago.
Right,
Yep.
they have escaped though from the treatment
And that's
plant.
because they were never there before, and he found them on mine, but
Yeah, it's funny how the state recommends doing certain things to help control nitrogen, and actually phosphorus was the other reason. And,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner.
Another thing, it'd be nice if we could get a copy of these reports, the year-end reports, to the township officers, which is January 6th. So they have, because you're going to ask someone to go online and look at it. I think that some of those people need copies in their hand. I think it'd be good for them to see what's actually happening.
Yeah. Administrator Kelly, would we be able to do that, get a copy of that to them? And then I did mention to Eric also that it'd been nice if he popped in at one of the Township Officers Association meeting a time or two during the year or two. So we'll see if he said he would if he could, so.
Very good. Is there any other further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ways and Means Committee from December 18th passes unanimously. Now we are down to the housekeeping items from these minutes. We looked at adopting the resolution appointing Eric Hiring as the Wright County Agricultural Inspector for 2020.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Dahlheiden, second by Commissioner Hewsome. This is a resolution. Commissioner Potter.
Aye.
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 All right, resolution passes unanimously.
I'll make a
Second,
motion to approve appointing Michael Young as the Wright County Drainage Inspector for 2020. And authorize execution of agreement.
we have a motion by Commissioner Dahlheiden, second by Commissioner Potter. Any further discussion? Commissioner Burrell.
Aye.
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 All right, resolution passes unanimously. Now we are down to item D, resolution setting county board per diem.
I'll make a motion to approve setting
The continuing the same, or?
Wright County,
Yep.
resolution per diem. The only thing I have a question regarding is, I don't see where it says how much.
It's on the, here. It's right here.
It's all on the backside of the resolutions. Here's all of them.
No, that is
That's all the other ones, all the advisory ones.
Yeah, I don't see it for the
It's in
county
the very
board.
last line of the document.
Oh, very, very last
Very
page.
last line.
Oh, there, yeah, I forgot, I didn't flip it up, yeah, you're right.
I just didn't see that.
Yep, all right. Motion by Commissioner Dodd,
I'll second, but I do have just one. little-
Commissioner Hughes, second by Commissioner Hewsome.
Yep. On the turn steering committee, it should be the turn, so it's drug court steering committee.
All right. Is there any other?
Mr. Chair, just a note that some of these are ad hoc committees, so they don't meet on a regular basis, and some have been on hold a little bit, like security, but, it's good to leave these on for when they come back.
Yep. All right, we have a motion and we have a second. Any other further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Rizzo.
Oh, it's a resolution, you're right, sorry. I'll start it off. Aye.
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 Aye. Oops, aye.
All right.
Good job.
All right. Per diem, county per diems are set, continuing the same as before, unanimously. All right. E, setting resolution for, this was the per diems for all the other boards. Okay, that's out of, or for the county health and human services boards, I'm sorry. So, separate one. So if you look at all those, we set the, now we're just to the health and human services portion ones for the,
And the boards and the commissions.
yep, in the boards and the commissions, yep, for.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolutions, but I do have one comment.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Dodd and second by Commissioner Potter. Any discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Regarding these people that we have approved to be on these different advisory councils, the county board is paying themselves $50 per meeting, but we're only paying these people that are taking time out of their life, we're only paying them $40, except for the planning commission and board of adjustments. So, I know it has an impact on the budget, but if we're asking people to take time out of their days and we're paying ourselves $50, why are we only paying them $40?
Well, that was a good point that I looked at it. I think it
Then
should have
why are we
been,
paying the planning commission and the board of adjustment 60 when I only get 50?
well, the planning,
Just because
the
you're
planning
overpaid.
commission is a giant, it's a
back at
giant
you.
of a job. I mean, that job, even for 60, and even with the meeting exceeding 4 hours increasing, it's still a astronomical amount of work. But the,
Those meetings are generally quite long, too. I
Yeah,
mean,
they are
Board of
very long.
Adjustment they'll start at 8 in the morning, they can easily go till lunchtime, Same thing as planning and zoning. I mean, people that come into those planning commissions, I mean, I think I've already gotten home at 1:30 in the morning,
Oh, yeah.
So,
Is that after the bar?
yeah, I'm not sure.
and I would be open to us adjusting it to 50. That way it's more uniform with,
Yeah.
Jamie's good.
Commissioner, I was just going to say, I think I've been in my position for 6 years, and they've never had an increase in the $40 that I'm aware of. It's been no different. So I think it's been 40 for a long time, and I think
No, it was actually increased.
Yeah, it used to be in the
Number years ago.
35 or
30.
30, something like that. We upped it a little bit. I'm not opposed to it either, but then if you're gonna do that, then do the parks board too, same thing.
Well, I'm just saying all these, yeah.
All of them.
I'm looking at all these and
So we
all
have,
these people.
we have a motion and a second. Do you want to make an amendment then? Or Lee, what's it gonna do for budget, or is this something we should take up next year?
Take up
At
next
budget
year.
time, maybe?
I don't think this is going to be a major impact if it's only $10, even though there is a fair amount of meetings, but
And these are for, not
attendance
for,
is sometimes kind of sketchy too. I think we'll be okay.
yeah.
Which maybe will help us a little bit more in our attendance, I don't know.
Mostly.
There's a cost for people missing work, because some of these things are during the day, so people are
But it's-
are compromising something potentially, or,
By doing this, it's mostly going to impact Health and Human Services budget, because the only thing otherwise would be parks, so.
but some of these costs, reimbursable costs anyways, too, so, I mean, that's,
I don't know if I don't think we're getting reimbursed for any of these costs, but I believe our budget can handle.
okay.
additional.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to make an amendment to the motion then to increase all of the per diems that are currently set at $40 to $50.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner Dahliden, to modify all per diem.
That's an amendment.
Yep, it's amendment, yep, so amended by Commissioner Dahliden. All right, discussion. Yeah, all right. It's a resolution, all right.
No, this would just be a
Motion for that too.
Oh, yes, we're to amend it, yep, so all in favor?
aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Now we have the amendment is approved. Now we are going to the resolution. Any discussion before voting on the resolution?
Resolution as amendment.
As amended. Hearing none. Commissioner Burrell?
Aye.
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 All right. Per diems are set.
You'll be able to live with that, Jamie?
I can live with that.
Thank you, Board.
All right. Now we are on to the advisory updates. I'm guessing not too many people had stuff in the last week here, given the holiday, but I guess we'll start over there with Administrator Kelly, and we'll kind of work our way this way.
Yeah, we're gonna talk-
Sure, I kind of wanted to hand out, the group has been working with Justice Center. We had an area plan for a history wall, so we've gotten some kind of renderings of what that might look like. I wanted to share those with the board here.
Here, let me hand them out, that way you can keep speaking. Keep one for myself. No, there's two different ones?
It's just to give you. So I know Alan and Commissioner Houston have been working with, I believe it's a local art guild, and kind of coming up with a concept for this area we had dedicated as part of the Justice Center. So we kind of tasked this group with coming up with some images and a concept, and this is kind of what they've come up with.
He doesn't get one. You want the other one too?
He's gonna put one up there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Different versions?
It's just an angle.
Oh.
So this is the big, yeah.
So kind of the concept would be that it would be a vinyl graphics covering the wall with some acrylic lettering that would be actually mounted, set off a little bit from the actual wall. As you can see, we've incorporated kind of some historical photos of the county and included the city names, as well as kind of a comment, county rich in history, tradition, and community. So kind of wanted to run this concept by the board, see if there is a desire to meet committee of the whole, or if you were okay with the concept, we would proceed forward with moving towards this. I don't know if you have any additional comments, Mr. Hewsome?
The Chair, Minister Kelly, Alan. So, yeah, we had just, would like to get some input. I guess my input is that I would like to see the 1978 courthouse as kind of being, one of the featured one that was really the beautiful.
18.
1870.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I say
Did I say
1978 is
19?
a,
No, okay. But we also should probably have the drawing or whatever of this 1959 courthouse also, but certainly this is the original, like 1860, when they first moved to Buffalo, right?
Commissioners, I'm not sure exactly what all the pictures are. This is more of a representation of a concept.
Right.
None of the photos are set, none of the
Right.
verbiage is set necessarily, but conceptually, this wall is about 12 feet tall by 34, 35 feet long, so it's a big piece in the lower level lobby. And just kind of trying to get some input on what do you want to see on there? Do you want to see an artistic drawing, a painting? Do you want to see something like this, which is a vinyl graphic, some acrylic letters on it, popping out some glass with images behind it? You know, just trying to kind of get some feedback on conceptually,
Concept,
not
yeah.
necessarily the photos or the content yet.
All right, because I mean, I do like the idea of a vinyl, but I mean, I guess in some ways, maybe whether it's a etched glass timeline that kind of talks you through it, or some sort of a metal plating timeline that goes along the vinyl.
Right, I think these acrylics would be out from that.
Yep, and that would kind of,
So, which they could be changed out, which is nice.
But if it's gonna, oh, I didn't cut you off, Chris.
No, but,
But I was gonna say, and if it's about the building, we could probably get rid of the horses and stuff in there too, and then, but with each one of the buildings and do a little, well, I mean, it's just kinda like, no,
right, I mean, I think he threw in, these teams. of
this
horses,
is just
but-
more a concept as far as, like you said, for-
Concept.
Okay,
It's supposed to be a
but-
representation of the
but it would-
company's history, not necessarily the judicial branch.
but to show the timeline though would be the
I agree.
bigger thing.
Start out with the horses and move on to some of the first plows. Hopefully there's some pictures of the first plows that the county had and, just different,
yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
how the county has grown. But one of the things I'd like to see on here, below the cities,
Townships,
the townships.
right, we'd mentioned that.
And I'd like to see Frankfurt Township.
Right.
Too.
Actually, Mike and I had that little discussion yesterday.
And then whatever other, I don't know if there's other
We've had other
townships.
unincorporated towns that have died off in this county. It'd be nice to have at least a footnote of.
Yeah,
you know,
so it is the
Enfield,
history.
Worcester, those kind of things.
Yeah, wasn't Burrell
And
Township one of them?
Yeah.
I don't know about whatever other people think, but I don't know that we need the map of Wright County on there. I think in some ways it kind of takes away from it, unless it would be somewhere else, but,
I mean, it's a great concept. I just think,
and I would.
couple of different
I would
ones out
love-
there.
I would love to see, the Winnebago Indians or something pictured actually on the original, because they were the original settlers here, and, or maybe not original, but,
I think we can
just
work on,
something.
yeah, we can
So,
work
I
on
mean,
the
some of that-
content side of it.
But I think it's great. I think the concept, I really like it.
I like that concept, it's nice. I mean, doing something of that nature and just figuring out at a later date what we actually want for content on it.
And I think that the building, it was the original courthouse in Buffalo, the 24 by 36, but I can't verify that because I hadn't seen a picture of it before.
maybe the communication specialist could help Alan.
He could.
Find some of this stuff and dig it up. Since he's pretty well versed in Wright County history.
To the History Center you go.
It's been around longer than any of us.
Yeah. Alan, was the History Center involved in this at all?
Historical.
Historical, History Center, Historical Society.
Commissioners, they have been involved in the fact that they're providing some of the documents, the images of the history. Not necessarily, I don't think, in the development of the concept, but they will be brought into, once we have a concept of how we want to present it, then they can supply some information to help us develop, these are the elements you should put in as content to our concept. So we need to figure out, I guess, what do we want to start with? What do we want this thing to look like? And then put the content into that.
Yeah, I
template.
think the timeline idea is good, where the county started out with and where it went to.
Too, yeah.
Yep.
And whether it's pictures of plows or pictures of the building as it changed, and just kind of give some people an idea of what things look like over the years.
And I don't know, does this, you've got so many things going on right now. I mean, is this something you're enjoying and would like to be involved in? Or do you want to transfer to some other person that kind of knows media and that sort of stuff?
Commissioner, we had some discussion about that a little bit, and I actually threw it out to all the department heads, and I had one person respond they were interested. I thought we'd get some people interested in the county that had as employees, but no such luck. So I've been trying to kind of help bring people into the group and get people involved. It's not something that I'm really an expert in developing something like this, so I'd love to have somebody.
Would the Historical Society want to participate in this? I mean, I would think tasking them to come back with some, some ideas and work with them, but maybe not. I don't know,
Well, I
Commissioner
think-
Potter, you?
Yeah, in some ways, it's nice to have the art community doing the concept and getting the historical society in with the photos and that kind of thing.
To get their input on,
A timeline and kind of putting a concept idea together, what would be some good photos to kind of make that timeline really flow? They might have fun with
Commissioner, I know that Wayne with the Art Guild had met and talked with some of the Historical Society folks, so they have been involved in some of the process. Just as far as, I don't know if we need to identify like a team of people to do this. I'm probably not the best person to put together an art project, so I'm trying to kind of bring people in. That's why I brought the Art Guild in and another Ripographics group and trying to.
yeah. Most everybody that's on Historical Society have been here for generations, so they got a lot of history sitting there. It wouldn't hurt to have them, at least some input.
They need to be at the table, I think.
And
I think we fully
I guess
got to.
another big question is, should this be a vinyl?
Yeah, I think
Thing,
so.
or
I don't
should it
think it should
be-
be painting.
No, I like the vinyl thing, because then you can kind of touch it and feel it. and it won't
Easier
hurt
to
it.
clean and
Yeah.
maintain.
Be
I
able to
think.
wash it.
Yeah.
So I guess the big question, and not to kind of jump in, but how do you want to move forward with this? Do you want to just keep developing and presenting things to you as a group? Do you want to form a group, a committee of sorts? Do you want your group to be deciding this? How do you want to move forward?
I think the committee, I wouldn't mind being on it. I mean, if we'd had a couple of commissioners, then we could kind of go around and pick a,
But I think you should task it out, push it over to Mr. Holler to work with the Historical Society and to come back to a committee and propose some things together and get it off your back, because I think it makes more sense for him at this point to kind of work on telling the story.
Buddy, who's your pal?
And one note, Wayne with the Art Guild is, he winters in Arizona, so he's leaving, not, I think in like a week and a half. So if we want to meet with him again, then obviously he can do things on the computer and phone, obviously, but he won't be available to meet here over the next couple months. But Sarah is also with the Art Guild. She will be available to meet with us. She's one of our contractors on a different portion of the work as well, so I talk with her every couple days.
Yeah, I would think that
Yeah, you want to,
the gentleman
you
you
know,
wouldn't really need until after you kind of formalize what you want to do.
and we want to move forward, but at the same time, we do have a little time, we want to do it right, too. You know, you're putting a fair amount of money into it.
And maybe
and
look at some other places, you know, where they've done something similar and see,
I
get some
don't
ideas.
know if they've ever done anything like this before.
Well, then.
Yes, they have.
Have they?
Blue Earth County does have one of those.
Huh?
Blue Earth County has one of those.
No, I meant
historical-
our-
We haven't
our
done it, but
code,
other
yeah.
counties have done
Yeah.
that timeline thing.
But I mean, you look at the ones that they have down at the state capitol, of the progression of the state capitol and stuff, they got some nice
Yeah.
timelines and stuff like that, that are some cool concepts, so.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun.
So, kind of moving forward, who's gonna drive this boat? Are you gonna pass it on, Alan? You gonna hold on to this and keep?
I'd love to.
You'd love to hold on to it?
The alternate.
Well, I think it's our administrators.
Yeah, let him decide who
He'll
has,
have to make the
you can
decision.
decide who's best tasked with it. Maybe it'll be himself.
Yeah, he doesn't have enough.
He doesn't have to do. Let him decide. All right.
Do you have anything else?
ERP will continue next week as well as union negotiations, so it's been a little bit of the lull over the holidays, and here we go.
Yeah, here we go.
It's gonna be a busy January, so.
Nice. Commissioner Potter?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. The only thing of note for us that's happened recently is Charles Zelli has been named the new chair of the Met Council, which is actually good for me because I do have a relationship with that gentleman with the transportation when he was the commissioner of that. So looking forward to meeting with him after the first of the year on behalf of the 55 Coalition and making some of those projects move forward. So that's good news for us because we have somebody that does understand and will listen.
Very good.
I would suggest, along with 55, also 12. But I know 12 has gotten some funding, but I don't know what the whole deal is there on all of
12's a
that.
little different animal because there really isn't a formal coalition. You got the West Hennepin Safety Coalition.
Yeah, but it needs to be addressed.
All right.
Done.
I can't think back that many weeks. Life's been good. And we got snow yesterday.
We did.
Good for the car wash business.
Very good. So I guess just in the last week before Christmas there, we met with Trailblazer, just kind of closed out the stuff for the year, keeping all of our local shares the same percentages, so no major changes, kind of just going into the next year on the quick side of it. And then our Central Minnesota, or Central Mississippi Regional Planning Partnership, CMRP, met as well the week before Christmas, and we formally accepted Silver Creek Township into the group. Monticello Township, we did not get their application in by that meeting, so we'll be taking action on them. I'm guessing somewhere in the beginning part of this next year. We will be doing a road tour, a bus tour with this group over all the way through northern part of Wright County, southern part of Sherburne County, with the Planning Next group, kind of kicking off our our regional planning process. So with that, more to come. That's all I have.
Yeah, I actually ended up having kind of quite a few meetings with META. Check out the new website, the improved website. We're meeting every other month now and getting more support from other people joining us. Miriam from the Journal Press has attended a couple of meetings. Marion O'Neill was their last meeting. And Public Works Labor Management, they're adopting the federal standards for their drivers and their driver testing for drugs and alcohol. Workforce had their legislative breakfast, and that was, Jimmy, you're there, and that was always a really good information, and I love having kind of the testimonials from people who have been helped in different situations, and either they've been displaced or they're, need to get into the workforce for the first time, and so that was a good meeting. And then to hear from the legislators and some of the things that are going on.
There were 11 legislators there, which I think
Yes. It was great. And Safe Harbor also met right before Christmas, and we're working on protocols with the different entities that are part of that, the county attorney's office, Health and Human Services with public health, and the sheriff's office. And so we're working on the protocols and getting those all written and kind of tweaked. So that's about it. We had a good, I thought, conference at the AMC this year. Attended a number of the sessions, and I got quite a few notes on different things, but that's part of a bigger discussion. So anyway, that's about it.
Okay, and I can show you pictures of the Burrell Christmas.
Okay.
Anyway, no, the only thing I wanted the commissioners to get on your calendar, though, for February 13th at 8:30. I know it's been talked about already, but we're having the planning session, and I believe it's going to be at the LEC again.
Soil and water.
Yeah.
Soil and water planning session, so, all right, just make sure that's on you. It's nice when the commissioners can come out, and then I think we're going to have a tour then sometime this summer. We didn't do one last year because we kind of took a year off. I think we're going to go every other year. So maybe this year, a couple of the commissioners could try to make it.
Yeah, I think we had a good turnout last time, didn't we?
No,
We did a
time
tour?
before. It was a good
tour?
turnout, but not very many commissioners. No, for this year they turn out, but for the tour, when they go around
Yeah.
and, yeah, we didn't have very many commissioners.
Okay.
Oh, it's too wet.
It was too wet? Okay. All right,
I don't
that's
know.
all I have, Mr. Chair.
I can't remember 2 years ago.
All right. Was there any other business to attend to? Otherwise, we will adjourn here at 10:39.
We have another meeting then, too?
Yeah.